What's going on, everybody? Biker Dave here with a new project for our shop. If you see over my shoulder right there, that is a 2003 Suzuki GSX 1300R, also known as the Hayabusa, which is the world's fastest bike, especially at the time. It was a technological marvel. Any of the Generation 1 Hayabusas, they were pushing the 200 mile per hour mark. And people still love them. Really comfortable long bike, especially for two-up riding or for touring and that sort of thing. Fantastic bike for that. However, this one, even though it only has less than 1,000 miles on it, it's been sitting for almost 15 years. So if if you've got a bike that's been sitting for a long time, or you're considering buying a bike that has been sitting for many years, I'm going to go over a few things mainly relating to the fuel system that you must look into before you go any further with the project. So let's take a look at this one real quick. All right, here we go. You notice it's obviously filthy. It's been parked in a garage, so at least it's been parked indoors. But the previous owner laid her down, got scuffed up nicely. But no significant damage to it other than, mostly cosmetic and some bodywork issues. So that, those parts are easily obtainable. Got a nice scuffed stator cover right there. Also not a big deal. Most of it is relatively easy to repair. However, I'll show you the fuel tank in the garage real quick. Fuel tank goes here, of course. Battery goes there. That's the air box right there, air filter and whatnot. This is a fuel injected model, so it has throttle bodies underneath there. So overall, not that bad. Not in that bad a shape. Original tires, original battle axes are still on it, which might be dried out. We haven't really looked into it that closely yet. We just got this just a couple of days ago. So let's take a look at the gas tank, because that is really the most important issue on any bike that's been sitting for a long time, is the fuel tank. And the inside of the fuel tank can be a horrific mess. So let's take a look at this one. I'll tell you what I mean. All right, here we are. The beloved fuel tank. The good thing about this tank, it is not damaged. It's not dented anywhere. Not a lick of damage on it at all. It still needs a little cleaning and a little waxing and whatnot. It's got a couple of really minor scuffs on the surface of the paint. This is a really pretty paint job. I know you probably can't see it in there, but it has black with little tiny blue metallic speckles inside of it there. I know you probably can't see it, but it does. So really pretty color for the Busa, with the two-tone on the side and all that. Totally sharp, metallic on the rear as well. But just if you have a bike that has been parked for a long time, or you have just bought a bike that has been parked for a long, long time, do not be in a rush to try and get it started, get it cranked, see if it runs, that sort of thing. You have to resist the temptation to do that, because what is probably inside of this tank is probably a horrific, rusty liquid that will completely destroy throttle bodies, carburetor, top end of the engine. Do not do it, okay? The first thing we want to do is get this liquid out of here. Hope to goodness it is not a rusty mess in this tank. You might get lucky and that not be the case. I can already tell you that is the case on this bike. It's got a pretty nasty contamination inside. How did we know? Because the first thing we tried to do was get the gas cap off, and we couldn't even get the gas cap out of here. And we tried every trick in the book. They have all kinds of tricks and things to try and remove the cap, but the little tongs on it would not retract when you turn the key. you know, you end up breaking the key off. A couple of tricks you can try if you have that issue. Try a heat gun. You can try a heat gun on it here. You can also, you know, spray rust liquid, you know, like PB Blaster or even WD-40. Spray it down in the key slot right there. You can also remove these fasteners and try to pull up a little bit on it. You might be able to get some liquid, you know, around the seal, which hopefully will get to the prongs, which on most Suzukis are on the front and the back, where some other bikes it's on the sides going this way. So unfortunately, we're still not able to get the cap off. So luckily, this is a fuel injected model, so it has a throttle body on the underside. Voila! So that's not a big deal to remove. Another thing to do, you know, is try to be careful, especially if a tank is in good condition like this one. You know, be careful handling it. Be careful where you put it, how you lay it on things and whatnot. Just, you know, try to be careful with that, because I know that's difficult to do. So we're going to have to get the fuel out of it, which we have just done. I'm going to show you a couple other things here. You know, try to prop it up on something so that you can access everything easily and whatnot. All right, this guy right here requires a little 5mm Allen. Your model may be different, but to remove the throttle body, a little 5mm, and take a look at this. This is why you do not immediately try to start a bike that has been parked for a very long time. Not only it smells horrible. You know, if you know what bad fuel smells like, it's worse than kerosene, worse than diesel fuel. It's just awful. This is all rust. Everything is rusted. Now, there's a chance you could save the fuel pump, but that is the least of your worries at this point. I would probably put this in our ultrasonic bath, which very well might be able to clean it off and make it usable. You know, we'll get to that later. What is more important is what does it look like inside the tank. So let's take a look. All right, here we are. Inside the gas tank. Take a look in there. See if I can get some light on it. See back in the back? See all the rust on the wall, inside wall of that tank? Just horrible. We can get a better view. Difficult to see, I know, you guys. You can see well enough, though. It is a mess. Okay, now partly this is because there are a few things that cause rust to occur inside a fuel tank like this. I mean, some of it's obvious, of course. However, standard pump gas that you buy at most gas stations, which is called ethanol-based fuel, when it sits in a tank, it also lets off condensation. Condensation starts to build up inside the tank, even if it's in a relatively controlled environment, whatever. This was in a garage, an enclosed garage. That's where it sat this whole time. So it's not like it was outdoors or in a barn or a shed or whatever. Still, the ethanol-based fuel evaporates and leaves condensation on everything, as well as the contaminants of a petroleum fuel. When the fuel starts to separate, you know, it starts to cling to things and just starts clogging. It also makes a hard, crusty residue, and it just wreaks havoc. So anytime you have a vehicle that you don't ride regularly, you should use non-ethanol fuel first of all, and you can get that at most gas stations now, Quick Trip, Racetrack. There's other stations around the United States. Make sure you always put non-ethanol fuel in your bike, car, boat, lawnmower if it's not used regularly. Okay? That's one thing you can do to help this problem in advance. I know it's hard to know in advance if you're not going to ride or use the bike, you know, after it's already sat for a year or two or more. But if you have a pretty good idea that you're not going to use it regularly, you should go ahead and drain the fuel out of the tank. I know it's not the easiest thing on some bikes, you know, especially fuel injected bikes, that sort of thing. But if you can, get that fuel out of there. At the very least, use a fuel stabilizer like Stable. You know, put stabilizer in it, in the fuel. That'll help. You know, I mean, there's a few things you can do to help that problem. Anyway, if you have this problem of this hideousness, if you can't purchase a new gas tank, and it's not practical for some of you, one, because it may not be available. Sure, you can go online and find a Hayabusa gas tank that may look similar to this, but what if you can't find the exact color scheme? You know, this is the factory color on this thing. What if you can't find it? And especially when you have one that's in good exterior shape like this. We are going to do a restoration now on the interior of this tank. And to do that, there are a few methods you can do. One that we have done before on other bikes. First, we're going to have to do a thorough rinsing inside. You know, you can use your water, your hose outside. Also, you can use a pressure washer and just try to break stuff free that's in there. Hopefully, you know, you can pressure wash it enough so that you can get to the locking mechanism of the gas cap if yours is seized shut like this one is, and hopefully it'll come free so you can at least open the gas cap on the top. That's also a concern right now. Another thing we'll do to remove the surface rust from inside there, we'll use a couple of steps. I like to use ball bearings, like different sizes of ball bearings. You can also use, you know, a large bag of nuts, like hex nuts, you know, little small ones, little bitty ones, you know, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, whatever, a variety of hex nuts. And with that, and along with, you know, like a rust remover liquid, like just a little bit of rust remover liquid, we're going to put that all inside the tank there. Then you'll seal it back up. And there's also a number of ways that people agitate it. You know, you'll agitate all that, but you'll literally wear your arms out if you try to do this by hand. So I like to protect the tank with various padding, like a mattress foam pad, like a camping pad, you know, something you can surround the whole tank with, and then use some like shrink wrap or plastic wrap, you know, in a very large, like industrial style. Wrap everything around it. You can put a blanket around that as well. So we want to protect the tank as much as we can for what we're about to do. Make sure you remove all hardware around it, any brackets and things. Make sure you protect any spouts or little ports on it. You know, you may want to put a little rubber plug on the outsides of them. Zip tie that in place. Of course, there will be a heat shield on a lot of these. Like there was a heat shield right here. We've already removed that. Very easy to do. Anyway, so we're going to put this medium in here. Some people even do not sandblasting per se, but they'll put sand, river sand, inside of here. And then you're going to, well, once you have it fully protected and wrapped with some sort of padded protection, you're going to put the tank, hopefully this will fit, you're going to put the tank in your clothes dryer. So you're going to need a big one, depending on the size. And it's a fairly big tank here. But you can put this in your clothes dryer. I know it sounds ridiculous, but you need something that can tumble for a long period of time. You can just put it on low heat. It doesn't need to be on high heat or anything. You just want it to tumble for a long period of time, and make sure that it's fully padded around the outside of the tank. You can throw some pillows in the dryer also. I've done this a few times. It actually works fantastic. Because the key is you need to have it agitated for a long period of time, an hour or so, maybe more. It depends on how bad it is. So anyway, we won't demonstrate that yet, but that's really the best way to get the debris from off of the inside of the tank. And then, of course, there'll be lots of rinsing involved and pouring it out and more rinsing and more pouring. Tons of rinsing going on, and then pouring more rust remover. There's all kinds of stuff, at your auto parts store or your hardware store as far as removing surface rust. But that can only go so far when it's got severe buildup all over the thing. So you'll find out after the first treatment if it's going to work. This one, I think it can work because I only see it really on the surface there. The little vent hoses and things are kind of contaminated also. So, you got to at least try when you're dealing with something that is hard to replace like this. And is the beauty, So anyway, we'll do a few videos on the various steps we take, and after you do the cleaning and removal of the debris and all that, and make sure it's thoroughly rinsed and dried and all that. There are several other products out there to then coat the inside. We'll show you the one that we use, but there are several out there, for coating the inside of gas tanks after the fact. Anywho, that's going to be the start of the project, because the rest of what's required for the Hayabusa out there, shouldn't be that bad. Hopefully, shouldn't be that big of an ordeal. So, we will just update you with a few videos here and there. And if you've had projects like this where you've restored inside of gas tanks or bikes that have been sitting for a very long time, or any vehicle for that matter has been sitting for a long period of time, feel free to post some comments on how you did it, or if you have tips and things of how to do it easier, better, faster, whatever. Throw some comments down, because we're hoping that a lot of people see this and want to preserve older motorcycles and cars and things, instead of just trashing them and going buy a new part. So that's our goal here. Anywho, watching a little road racing here, and hanging out in the shop on a Monday morning. So y'all have a good day. We'll see y'all later.